Alrighty, welcome back everyone, I am Blaze here. This video is a continuation of a series that I do called the Bard Class Review. I do this at the end of every expansion when I feel like I have a very good grasp on what has changed. So this is the class review for the Shadows of Luclin expansion. Yeah, this is the beginning page. I'm playing on EverQuest Mangler, and let's get into it, shall we? So, table of contents, we're going to be going over gear, alternate advancements, and songs. So, in terms of songs, there is a couple changes here in this expansion. Not a whole lot, but some nice ones. So, let's get into it. So, the first song I'll talk about is Amplification. And this song is a boost to the singing potency of all your singing-based songs. So, an example of that, why I use amplification, is I need to mention also amplification lasts for 30 seconds or about 8 song casts. So you can play this for 8 songs and keep the boost on all of them. So I mainly use amplification for, say, Denon's Desperate Dirge, which is a Bard's AoE nuke that affects 5 targets. It says 635 damage here, but it's actually about 2,100, and it can go even higher. But yeah, 2,100, and without amplification, it's something like 1,000 to 1,500. You get a lot more DPS out of using amplification on top of that. You can use amplification also on top of your, say, stat boost, like Cassandra's Elegy or Solon's Charismatic Concord. You can use amplification. Ideally, the reason why I use it most of the time is to either maximize damage shield or to maximize a single target resist. So what I mean by that, if we go back to this chart that's right here, if you use amplification on top of one of those damage shield psalms, you get an extra 18 points of DS, which is great for getting a little extra damage out there. And as well, if you use amplification on top of any of the single target singing resists, like Psalm of Cooling, Psalm of Mystic Shielding, any of these, you can almost, at least with my current stats, I can cap 3 of my 5 resists. As it stands right now at the 500 point, I can cap 3 of my 5 resists with poison and disease. Not yet there, but very close to being capped. So many raid targets, they only really require 1 single resist. So that's actually the best way to help out with AoEs. But if you need multiple resists, that is where you come into Elemental Chorus or Purifying Chorus, and you'd use Guardian Rhythms on top of that. But these songs are a replacement to Elemental Rhythms and Purifying Rhythms. Let's go back. And the same thing, it's still the same roughly concept with Chorus of Replenishment. Chorus of Replenishment is a replacement for Cantata of Replenishment, level 55 in Kunark. And they essentially have the same buffs, the same boosts, but the main difference is that instead of only taking effect on group members, it takes effect on all players within the vicinity. It's a AoE buff, essentially. So as long as there is another player is within range, they can receive the benefits from these songs. The extra HP mana regen, the extra resist, whatever it might be. So one bard can cover a large swath of people in a raid. It's really great. It's really, really great. Bards also get a new mez up to 57 as opposed to the 55 cap. And Ancient Mez actually is in Shadows, it's actually in Velius. They get that earlier, it's 55, but it has an issue, you can only use it for 1 mob at a time. But it's virtually unresistible. Bards also get 2 V3 haste songs, which is great. They're really the only class that has V3 haste at this point in time. And it lets you get up to the absolute haste cap of 225%, 225%, where previously it was at 200% with Warn, V1 haste, and V2 haste from spells and procs taking effect. And bards also get Kata Song of Sword Dancing, which is a proc to boost. Well, it's not. It can proc a dex debuff. I think it's negative 25 dex on a mob, but it boosts the dexterity of your party by at least 75, if not more, which is great. Absolutely great if you want to help people out land procs, but with Avatar, I don't really need it. And then lastly, Silos Accelerating Chorus, which boosts the movement speed, it's essentially a replacement to the level 5 Silos, same exact speed. It has a nice caveat to it in that instead of lasting 15 to 18 seconds like the level 5 Silos, this one lasts for 2.5 minutes, which lets you have a lot more flexibility in your melody, in your song twists. It is incredible. I use this a lot on raids to permanently keep Silos up. I use this a lot in soloing so I can get an extra dot in there. It's great for pulling just in general, so you don't have to constantly keep refreshing Silos. It's a really, really nice song. And now let's get into gear. There's a couple illusions that come out in this expansion. So I actually have one of the illusions on right now, being the half-elf illusion. I'm actually natively human. And this comes from a non-raid target. This comes from Jagged Pine Forest off of Zed Sticklebush. Burnos of the Half-Breed. Pain to get, but it definitely does drop on Mangler and on Timeline Progression. And some other illusions include Human and Fire Elemental. Let me go to that page. Also, there's a skeleton one, but there's a skeleton illusion back in Plane of Fear in the original era, but Circlet of Disguise in Vexthal, Skeleton Illusion also in Vexthal, and the Fire Elemental in Vexthal. Now, the Fire Elemental Illusion actually gives you a native damage shield buff, which is really, really nice. I think it's a 4-hour long damage shield buff, so that's a very nice buff. And next, we'll talk about instruments. So, there's 2 instruments that become available in this expansion. The Horn of Shadows is one of them that you can get. It can actually go in the range slot, as opposed to having to be equipped in your primary, secondary hand. And it has a clicky slow on it. It's at least a 30% slow. I think I saw some graphics say 50%, but I don't know. It's at least a 30% slow, which is just as good as the best slow that bards get, or have at this point in time, being Ainslech's Essence, which is a 30% slow as well. But instead of lasting for 1 minute like Ainslech's does, this lasts for 6 minutes and 30 seconds, and it doesn't have a dot, so it won't break a mez. The only issue with it is it takes 2 extra seconds to cast. It's 5-second cast instead of a 3-second, but it's got a great range. And the other instrument that is available is the Denon's Drums of Declivity. It's not really that great, to be honest. It's not. It can go in the range slot. That's actually quite nice, though. But a 1.8 mod in the range slot, which is better than what I currently have, I believe. With, Drums of the Beast, a 1.6 mod. Yeah, it can go in the range slot. That's actually quite nice. But the thing about it is the clicky effect, occlusion of sound, it becomes obsolete in Planes of Power, and seeing as how these expansions are moving across in three months, get a new expansion every 3 months, harmony of sound makes this clicky effect obsolete, and especially because it doesn't have any modifiers, because it isn't being used with an instrument. You have to actually cast the song to get the boost to the debuffs. And next we will talk about let's go into singing mods. So there's 2 main singing mods. This is Voice of the Serpent, which drops off of a name mob in SSRA. I think it can be done with 2 people, with the bard and 1 other person in Shadows of Luclin, and it can be soloed by a bard, and definitely in Planes of Power. And what these singing mods are is they are essentially a permanent unlock under alternate advancements that permanently boost the efficacy of all your singing songs. So Resonance is I think it's a 0.6% boost, and the Shadow Song Cloak is actually the best one. This drops off of Shea Venatros and Akiva Ruins. This is a 9% boost off of Harmonize. This cloak definitely does drop in Shadows of Luclin. There's some questions whether it does. It does drop. I have seen it once being sold for loot rights. But my guild, we have killed Shea since the beginning of this expansion for 1 or 2 months. And an open world and instance every single week. And we have yet to see a single one. We just got our first shears. Actually, we just got our first shears about 1.5 months in. But we have yet to see a single Shadow Song Cloak drop. So this is a very, very rare drop, but is the best in slot for at least a while. Not necessarily the cloak, there's better cloaks, but the effect, the Harmonize effect, is definitely best in slot for a while. And I'll go into clickies. There's some clickable summon food and water that you control with people. You control people in Vex Thaw that go in the range slot, I believe. And there's also some shrinks. The Water of Imperceptibility, this can be soloed in the deep, and this is a shrink that is self-only. I actually prefer this one, Bracelet of the Shadow Hive. This is, I believe, a targeted click. You can cast this on other people, but it seems to be somewhat of a rare drop. I'm definitely holding out to buy this thing. And we'll talk about mana regeneration. So, in the Shadows of Luclin expansion, there's a lot more variety in terms of mana regeneration, what you can get off of gear. So there's a 15 cap on the amount of mana regeneration that you can have from gear. So these are all the mana regeneration items that I have. I think Talisman of Vakarith is the best single mana regeneration item in the Luclin expansion. This comes from a very quick quest. You get a drop off of Atenha Ra and then turn it into an NPC in Umbral Plains, and you get this. And this is a best in slot item for bards for a long time, at least till the ends of Plains of Power, if not after. 8 mana regeneration. Earring of the Solstice quest is an easy, Earring of the Solstice is an easy quest. Almost anybody can do it. Anybody can do it, and you can buy the items of the Bazaar. So that's 8 plus 1, that's 9. And the Brain of Khazak Thul, this comes from the Plane of Fear revamp in Velius off of Khazak Thul, so 8, 9, 10, and then the last 5 to get up to 15 cap. Start Yttrium Ring off of Lord Inquisitor Saru, off of Sanctus Saru. Really great on resist. 5 mana regeneration. I think this is also somewhat of a best in slot item for a while. Should also show this. There you can get a invisibility versus undead item in Vex Thaw, but with those I have 15 mana regeneration from gear, and then if you add Mental Clarity, which there's 4 ranks of in Shadows of Luclin under AAs, you can get up to a native base 20 regen, and base 20 mana regen in the Luclin expansion, which I believe is the highest you can go at this point. You only need about 5 to 6 mana regeneration to be able to permanently charm with Solon's Bewitching Bravura. What I mean by permanently charm, the charms break every single minute, but prior to the mana regeneration, you can't do it ad infinitum because you'll run out of mana eventually. So you need at least 5 to 6 mana regeneration per minute, or right here, to be able to permanently use Solon's Bewitching Bravura, and you need 9 in Plains of Power for the level 57 charm. This is level 51. And you'll also want to get more mana regeneration. Really, it's mainly for Fading Memories, which is the big pullers advantage. It lets bards become essentially the best pullers in Plains of Power. But it costs a lot of mana. It costs 12% at this point in time for the first rank. And now let's go on. We'll talk about alternate advancements. I don't want to go through the window, the alternate advancement window, because it's kind of nasty, but alternate advancements become available for the first time ever in this expansion, which is really great. because it lets you play your max level character and get them stronger. It gives you a point to get experience on your max level characters. So there's defensive boosts. You boost your HP cap, your AC cap, your ability to dodge hits, and your ability to riposte and to kick off of riposte. That's a nice one. There's boost to mana regeneration. There's song modifiers, which is really the first thing you should get, singing and instrument mastery. What I found is with the 3 ranks of singing mastery, with just the epic equipped, I can actually go max bard speed, which is really nice. So I never even equip the drum anymore when I'm doing silos. Jamfest is a minor boost. It makes it so that your songs act as if they're being casted at a higher level, 5 levels higher at the max rank, which is great in terms of avoiding resists. And then reaching notes, boosting the AoE range of your songs. At this point it's only 25%, but it gets much better in Planes of Power. It's not super game changing at this point in time, but still great on raids for your AoEs. There's some offensive ones, such as Combat Fury, which you need at least 1 rank to be able to critical hit at all, and then Finishing Blow, which if you do get a critical hit on a mob that's within a certain level range, you can pretty much end it, you can one-shot it. There's boost to damage, the direct damage nukes, and then there's some other miscellaneous stuff, such as I think innate run speed. You can get 3 ranks of that to go essentially J-boot speed without having a click, and 50% reduction of the memorize speed if you like to mem spells a lot. So, that scribble note, that's what it's called. There's a lot of stuff. There's definitely a lot of AAs that become available with this expansion, but nothing super game changing like with what you get in Planes of Power. And before I get this one item I've been meaning to do, I'm actually going to make a video on this. It's called the Cloak of Tiny Cloak of Darkest Night. This is one of the only self-invisibility items that I know of that bards get. This comes off of a cycle in Fungus Grove. It takes 1.5 seconds to cast. I think it lasts for about 2 minutes, but it's going to become invaluable for fading memories or just pulling in general. So I'm gonna try to get this item, and it goes in the ammo slot. Really nice. So I'm gonna try to make a video showing that. But anyways, that's the end of the video. Thank you guys all for watching. This is the Bard class review for the Shadows of Luclin expansion. I'm going to be coming up with a video soon on the class preview for the Planes of Power expansion. I'm very excited for that. So please stick around. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next one.